Dangote Sugar Refinery has reported a 17.6% rise in third quarter earnings per share to 107 kobo. The sugar refiner, which ranks amongst Africa's largest with a capacity of 1.4 million metric tons per year, saw revenues decline 4.4% to 77.7 billion naira, while profit for the year rose 17.8% to 9.6 billion naira. And staying with that news, we have in the studio to break down those numbers Abdullahi Sule, the CEO of Dangote Sugar. Thank you so much, Abdullahi, for joining us. So, in this, given what we've seen recently in this earnings season, a lot of people say these are very positive numbers. We're going to be reviewing the market in a little bit, but let's stick with these numbers for now and just give us, for us, what were the key drivers of your performance. One big takeaway is that we saw revenues fall down about 4%. I imagine that may be linked to sugar prices.
Yeah, the revenue fall down, if you look at it clearly, is actually as a result of the international sugar prices that have gone down more than 20%. So for the 4% rundown, that means a huge increase in the volume of sugar that we have sold. Right. So actually, that's a very positive news for us. But some of the drivers that we can see from what you have seen, we have seen increase, in the volume of sales that we have done.
So in terms of volumes, you've sold more this.
Yes, we sold
over this 9 months.
We sold over 20% more than what we sold last year.
Right.
So we have seen increase in that. We have seen a huge increase actually in terms of efficiency within the refinery. What we consider realization, that is the yield that we have from the sugar production. We've been able to extract more. So we have moved in from somewhere around 94-95% to somewhere around 97% at the moment.
Right. So if your volumes have gone up 20%, how has that impacted your market share? Where are you right now?
Our market share is still very much where we have been, somewhere around 70%. We still maintain about 70% of the market share.
So that implies volumes in the market grew about 20% by your estimations?
Yes,
over the same period?
The volumes grew about 20% or more as a result of two things. One, by lowering the prices, we've been able actually to stop all the smuggled sugar that used to come into the country. So as a result of taking out the smuggled sugar, we have now seen improvement in the market, in the consumption, throughout the country. So I think every one of us had a little bit of a market share increase.
Right, but what's driving this demand? And I know we have to break down the demand into industrial demand and then the retail demand, because I know that you've also moved into the retail space with the small pack sugar products. So let's start with the industrial demand. How is that changing and what is driving that?
The industrial demand mostly is as a result of lower sugar prices. Sugar prices have come down from somewhere close to 30 cents per pound down to somewhere around 17 cents, a little over 17 cents per pound. So what that implies to especially some of the confectionery companies is you will see confectionery companies that had a blend of glucose and sugar. So now with the lower prices of sugar, they improve the blend. So instead of using about 40%, 50% of glucose, now they use only about 20% and use more sugar in that. As a result also of the lower prices that you have seen in the market, there is more consumption. So the prices of maybe the sweets, the biscuits, and the rest are actually a little bit lower. So there is more consumption and more market demand. So each time the sugar prices are a little bit lower in the country, we have seen an improvement in the market demand. But the biggest increase is actually as a result of blocking all that for smuggled sugar coming into the country.
Right, let's talk a bit about the government's sugar master plan and how that impacts your business going forward. We know that the government is trying to drive backward integration in the industry, and to some extent that will be putting some pressure on how much raw sugar you can import. I imagine there are some restrictions. So how does this impact your business going forward?
Well, it impacts positively. As a matter of fact, the federal government came up with the Nigerian Sugar Master Plan, but we in Dangote, because of our position as leaders in this industry, and because of the level of seriousness that we have put in this business, we also came up with Dangote Sugar Master Plan. So by doing that, while the government is looking to producing maybe somewhere about 2 million metric tons of sugar locally in the next 10 years, in Dangote itself, we are looking at being able to produce more than 1.5 million metric tons of sugar, within the next couple of years. And in viewing that, we have gone ahead to bring in one of the most respected people in this industry in the area of backward integration, Mr. Clark, who is actually reporting, in Dangote Sugar as a group managing director.
Right. So he's starting when?
He's starting next week on the 4th of November.
Okay.
So by coming in, he's coming along again with a set of top notchers in the sugar production in Africa, and they are coming to join us in the group. So the way we're actually taking the bull by the horn, and we are developing our own sugar master plan. Right now, we are going to roughly about 6 different locations. In addition to Savannah, we are going to Lau and Tau in Taraba. We are going to Goronyo, in Sokoto and Kebbi. Right. We are going to Kogi and Kwara. Right. So collectively, we are going to develop not less than 200,000 hectares of land.
Right, but you've just mentioned that you're in several locations across the country. Doesn't that make your job a little more difficult, bringing all that to the refinery in Lagos?
No. None of the sugar coming from any of those fields will come to Lagos. All of those fields will produce sugar from cane all the way to white sugar.
Oh, I see.
So Lagos will continue to depend on imported raw sugar because it's going to be cheaper, it's going to be more efficient with the dedicated jetty. It's going to be only 12 days sailing from Santos in Brazil down here to Lagos. So it's going to be actually more difficult bringing sugar from any of those fields to Lagos. It's much easier bringing the sugar from
right.
Brazil.
I guess it's always a challenge when you're integrating this way, doing this backward integration project, and it's something that cuts across all sectors wherever it's been applied. So I want to get a sense over the medium term how this is likely to impact your margins, because I imagine there will be significant investments to set up the mini refineries in those locations, for instance.
Well, it's already started. As a matter of fact, if you look at our accounts, even as presented, at the moment, we do have the company account and the group account, because right now we are presenting the accounts, both for the company, that's Dangote Sugar Refinery, as well as the consolidated account involving that. And you will see a difference of over ₦1 billion. So that ₦1 billion that you are seeing is really not a loss. It's the level of investment that we are making in the backward integration in Savannah, right, which is going to be positive. Right. Because by the time all those fields are going to start full production, in Savannah.
And how quickly would that happen?
I just came back from Savannah, for instance. We have over 5,000 hectares of land under cane in Savannah. And we are going to start our crop season, in the next couple of days, as a matter of fact, by the end of November.
Right.
So by the time we do that, Savannah will actually produce sugar, depending on the extraction and the prices of sugar. So Savannah is going to contribute more than it has contributed, for instance, this year. So by next year, we will see those positive numbers. So instead of as negative as they are this year, they are going to be a little more positive. They won't be far positive, but they will be a little more positive, until roughly Savannah is able to have about 20 to 22,000 hectares under cane. By that time, Savannah now will start producing, profitably, and then you will go.
It's always exciting to hear about the agricultural industry in Nigeria getting more, adding more value to it. And well, best wishes as you try to do that. Abdullahi Sule is the CEO of Dangote Sugar Refinery.